Beyond the gate's spoilers, Hayley finds herself standing at the edge of something she never anticipated. Rejection from two opposing fronts, arriving almost simultaneously, like a coordinated punishment rather than coincidence. What unsettles her most is not simply being refused, but the manner in which the rejection strips away the illusion of control she has worked so hard to maintain. Hayley is not a woman who accepts denial easily. Her entire sense of self has been shaped by persistence, manipulation, and the belief that patience will always be rewarded in the end. When the doors remain closed, when the expected cracks fail to appear, the rejection does not humble her, it ignites her. The problem is that this time, anger does not come with immediate leverage, and that absence becomes its own kind of torment. As Hayley struggles to regain her footing, a more dangerous current begins to move beneath the surface of Fairmont Crest, one that does not announce itself loudly, but instead advances with quiet, deliberate intent. By Tuesday, the danger takes shape through Joey Armstrong, a man who has never believed in restraint when it comes to protecting what he considers his territory. Weekly spoilers hint that Joey is preparing to teach someone a harsh lesson, and while it would be easy to assume that his fury is directed at Leslie, the truth points elsewhere. Joey's attention is drawn instead toward the volatile husband who recently crossed a line by attacking Vanessa, an act that Joey cannot interpret as anything less than a direct challenge. Vanessa insists that she can handle the situation herself, and in another world, perhaps she could. She believes in maintaining dignity, in choosing distance over escalation, in surviving without dragging others into the wreckage of her private battles. But Joey does not operate according to Vanessa's rules. He never has. To Joey, violence against Vanessa is not merely a personal matter, it is a declaration of war, and war demands response. Whether he confronts the offender directly or unleashes his enforcers to deliver the message for him makes little difference in the end. The message itself is what matters, and Joey ensures that it will be impossible to misunderstand. Mercy has never been part of his vocabulary, especially when loyalty and pride are at stake. While Joey's shadow looms large, Hayley's own week continues to unravel in ways she did not plan for. The rejection she faces is not singular, it is layered, arriving from different directions and carrying different implications. On one front, she is forced to confront the slow, infuriating reality that her carefully administered poison is not working quickly enough. She expected results, visible signs of deterioration, proof that her plan was unfolding according to design. Instead, she is left waiting, watching, calculating, and growing increasingly resentful of the time it takes for destruction to bloom. The delay feels like betrayal, as if even the weapon she chose has decided to defy her. On the other front, a far more emotionally destabilizing possibility threatens to surface. Hayley may discover that Bill and Donnie have crossed a line once again, sharing another kiss that confirms her deepest fears. If this revelation comes to light, it will not merely wound her pride, it will confirm that her position is far more fragile than she allowed herself to believe. The idea that Bill could continue to gravitate toward Donnie despite everything Hayley has done is unbearable. It suggests that no amount of manipulation, patience, or calculated cruelty can fully erase the connection they share. This convergence of delayed vengeance and romantic betrayal creates a volatile emotional cocktail for Hayley. She is not grieving, she is seething. The rejection she experiences does not push her toward introspection or retreat. Instead, it sharpens her sense of injustice and convinces her that escalation is no longer optional. If subtlety has failed her, then force may be the only language left to speak. The danger lies not only in what Hayley is willing to do next, but in how little she now has to lose. As the week progresses, the lives of these characters begin to intersect in increasingly dangerous ways. Joey's actions ripple outward, destabilizing the fragile balance of power that once allowed everyone to coexist under the illusion of civility. Vanessa, caught between gratitude and fear, realizes that Joey's protection comes at a cost she may not be able to pay. Hayley, simmering in resentment, becomes more unpredictable by the hour, her patience eroding as quickly as her restraint. Bill and Donnie, whether they intend to or not, remain the spark hovering dangerously close to a powder keg that is already primed to explode. Nothing about this week feels accidental. Rejection, retaliation, and delayed consequences weave together into a single narrative thread, tightening around each character with quiet inevitability. By the time the dust settles, it will be clear that denial is not merely an emotional setback, it is the catalyst that transforms wounded pride into something far more destructive. And in Fairmont Crest, destruction rarely confines itself to its original target. Hayley's frustration doesn't stop at personal rejection or romantic humiliation. It spreads into something colder and more strategic, the kind of rage that doesn't scream immediately, but simmers behind polite smiles and fake composure until it becomes poisonous. This time, the blow to her pride comes wrapped in paperwork and professional boundaries, the kind of refusal she cannot simply seduce, threaten, or manipulate her way around. Hayley may try to pressure the law firm into erasing Lynette's $17,000 fee, arguing that it was unfair, inflated, or a mistake that shouldn't exist in the first place. She may even frame it as a matter of loyalty, demanding a discount for family and friends, expecting the same privilege she's always felt entitled to. And if that doesn't work, she could go even further, pushing the bold fantasy that they should represent her for free, as if her case is so important and her name so valuable that the firm should feel lucky to be involved. But the door stays closed. The refusal is clean, blunt, humiliating. It is not a debate. It is the kind of no that does not leave room for negotiation. If this truly happens, it will strike Hayley at the core, because she is not used to being blocked. In the life of a con artist, obstacles are temporary, rules are suggestions, and consequences are things that only happen to other people. So, when she is rejected like an ordinary person, she doesn't simply accept it. She internalizes it as an insult and begins to view everyone around her as enemies conspiring to strip her power away. That emotional reaction becomes dangerous, because rejection doesn't calm her down, it accelerates her. It makes her impulsive. It makes her reckless. It makes her believe she must strike harder, faster, and more brutally to reclaim control. The more she is denied, the more she will want to punish the world for daring to deny her at all. And while Hayley's sense of entitlement begins to rot into something darker, the emotional battlefield inside the Dupree orbit grows even more complicated. Because Andre finally returns from his photo shoot, his arrival should feel like relief, like stability, like a moment of warmth after all the tension. Andre comes back energized and purposeful, and the first thing he wants is to repair the distance that has formed between him and Donnie. Whether he realizes it or not, he is walking into a marriage that has already been emotionally bruised, a relationship that has been forced to survive under pressure from secrets, temptation, and constant disruption. Still, Andre chooses romance as his first weapon of healing, not confrontation. He wants to remind Donnie of what they were before everything became so heavy. He wants to anchor her back to him through tenderness and effort, through a romantic surprise that feels spontaneous but is actually urgent. Because Andre senses something slipping away and he refuses to lose it without a fight. There is something almost desperate beneath his charm, an unspoken fear that the longer he waits, the further Donnie will drift. So he returns with a gesture meant to reignite love, meant to erase distance, meant to prove that their marriage still has a heartbeat. But Donnie has an unexpected surprise of her own, and unlike Andre's, hers is not wrapped in romance. Hers is wrapped in guilt. Hers carries consequences. Donnie has kissed Bill, and that single act is not just a mistake, it's a crack in a foundation that was already under strain. The kiss isn't merely physical, it is symbolic. It suggests that no matter how hard Donnie tries to bury the past, it keeps returning in the form of temptation and unfinished emotional business. It suggests that Bill still occupies space in her heart, even if she resents that truth. It also forces Donnie to confront the kind of woman she wants to be. Andre comes home offering her love and commitment, but Donnie is holding onto a secret that could poison everything. The question becomes unbearable in its simplicity. Does she confess? Does she admit the truth and risk detonating her marriage? Or does she hide it, believing she can keep it contained, believing that silence is protection rather than betrayal? The longer she stays quiet, the heavier the secret becomes, and the more dangerous it is when the truth finally explodes out into the open. Donnie is not just afraid of losing Andre. She is afraid of becoming someone she no longer recognizes, a woman who breaks vows while still pretending she deserves devotion. The kiss with Bill is a serious offense not because it was passionate, but because it exposes how fragile Donnie's sense of control has become. It proves that the boundary she thought she had built was never as solid as she wanted to believe. Meanwhile, the romantic complications surrounding Donnie do not remain isolated, because her sister Nicole is quietly entering a romantic storm of her own. Nicole's love life does not follow the script people expected. The assumption would be that Carlton remains central, that the emotional gravity of their connection would continue to pull her back toward him. But the truth shifts, and it shifts fast. After taking her relationship with Carlton to a new level, Nicole begins to feel the familiar discomfort of moving too quickly, the creeping worrying that chemistry can be mistaken for certainty. Sometimes excitement feels like destiny until reality shows up with hard questions and quiet doubts. Nicole has enjoyed herself so much that she has almost allowed herself to forget the complications waiting in the background. She has been swept up in the feeling of being wanted, of being seen, of being alive again in ways she perhaps forgot she needed. And in that rush, she doesn't even think about Keel. Not because he doesn't matter, but because Nicole has trained herself to compartmentalize pain. She has learned how to set aside what threatens her peace, how to push away the memory of unresolved feelings until they become blurry enough to ignore. But ignoring Keel does not make him disappear, and that illusion shatters the moment he unexpectedly appears at Garland Memorial Hospital. His arrival doesn't just surprise Nicolai, it destabilizes her. Hospitals are not neutral spaces. They are places where the truth is always closer than comfort, where emotions are raw, where people show up because something has gone wrong or because something is about to. Keel's presence in that environment makes him feel even more significant, even more unavoidable. It forces Nicole to confront the emotional gap she tried to fill with Carlton. It forces her to remember that what she shares with Keel isn't just history, but possibility. And as teasers suggest that Nicole and Keel grow closer, the tension becomes less about romance and more about what Nicole truly wants. Because closeness is not accidental. It happens through repeated moments, through vulnerability, through the kind of connection that starts quietly and then becomes impossible to deny. Nicole is now caught between a relationship that feels thrilling and fast, and another connection that feels deeper and slower, one that may carry emotional weight she is afraid to handle. The fear that she and Carlton are moving too fast doesn't come from nothing. It comes from Nicole's instinct that she is chasing a feeling, trying to outrun her own loneliness, trying to create certainty before she has done the hard work of understanding herself. Carlton may represent escape, excitement, and immediate comfort, but Keel represents something different, something more complicated. Something that could either heal her or destroy her sense of stability all over again. And in a world like Fairmont Crest, nothing stays private for long. Every romantic shift becomes a rumor. Every hesitation becomes a scandal. Every secret becomes a weapon. At the same time, these romantic entanglements do not exist in isolation from the growing danger surrounding the community. Hayley's rejection fuels her anger. Donnie's guilt threatens her marriage. Andre's romantic effort may be genuine, but it also risks becoming tragic if he offers devotion to someone already hiding betrayal. Nicole's romantic uncertainty sets her up for emotional chaos, and Keel's sudden re-entry makes it clear that the past is not finished with her. Each storyline is a fuse, and the question is not whether something will explode, but which fuse burns the fastest. The most terrifying part is how close all of them are to the edge without realizing it. Hayley's refusal will make her more aggressive, more reckless, more dangerous. Donnie's guilt will make her either confess or spiral deeper into deception. Nicole's confusion will make her vulnerable to choices she cannot take back. And somewhere in the middle of all this emotional volatility, the wrong person will hear the wrong secret at the wrong time. And Fairmont Crest will transform from a place of luxury and image into a battlefield of consequences. Because in the end, rejection is not just a disappointment for someone like Hayley. It is an injury, and injured people, especially those who have spent their lives avoiding accountability, do not seek healing. They seek revenge, and when revenge becomes a goal, love becomes collateral damage, marriages become targets, and the entire community becomes a chessboard where no one is safe, especially the people who still believe they are.